This episode is brought to you by Farmers Insurance. When was the last time you reviewed your insurance policy? So it's been a while, huh? Well, no worries. My friends at the Austin Brummett Agency would love to hear from you and provide you with some amazing rates. Give them a call at 678-402-8262 or email them at abrummett@farmersagent.com. That's ABRUMIT at farmersagent.com, and tell them Harley sent you. Insiders, Inside the Bubble with Harley G is now sponsored by BetterHelp. As a partner of this episode, listeners can access the BetterHelp link located in the show notes to receive 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help. Go to BetterHelp, that is BetterHelp.com/inside the bubble, the link to get started. You're listening to Inside the Bubble with Harley G, the podcast for the superwoman. Every week, we connect with amazing individuals who share their inspirational experiences and stories while motivating and inspiring purpose. It's time to hang your cape. Grab your coffee, your water, your cocktail, and come on in Inside the Bubble with me, your host, Harley G. Special occasion. I am here in the actual Southern Baked Pie Company storefront in Vinings Jubilee in Atlanta, Georgia, because I know we have some listeners all over the place. And I am so excited to be talking to Amanda Wilbanks today, who is the founder of my personal addiction of Southern Baked Pie Company. So I'm really excited for you to share your stories with insiders today about your purpose, right? Which is what this podcast is all about. So Amanda, I want to give you a little bit of backstory as to how this experience came about. So maybe a few months before I officially launched the podcast, I launched in June. So a few months before, I had gotten hooked to the caramel pecan pie. Okay, so if you have not had the caramel pecan pie yet, trust me, believe me, take my word for it. Don't start, because once you start, it's all downhill from there. Exactly. So I kept coming into the store, and I struck up a friendship with the amazing ladies that work here. By the way, they need a raise.
Yeah, there's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I struck up a friendship with them and kept coming in, and I started coming in with my shirt that had my logo on it. And Carrie was like, "What is that? Like, what is that shirt?" And I was like, "Oh, it's my podcast that I'm getting ready to launch." And she was so gracious. She was like, "Well, you know what? If you make flyers, feel free to come in and drop them." And I was like, "Oh." And so I got on it. I created some flyers. I dropped them off and kept coming in, getting my pies on a regular basis, which is why I run 8 miles every day. Gotta make room for the pies. Listen. I run. And so I just kept coming in, and then would come in with, shoot the breeze with the ladies, and then the podcast launched, and then at the end of last year, in 2022, I came in and Karen was like, "Harley, do you want to enter our sweepstakes?" And I was like, "No, I'm good." And she was like, "Do you want to enter the sweepstakes?" And I was just kind of like,
Say it.
And I was like, "Okay, I'll put my name in." I never won anything. And then maybe about a week and a half later, I got an email. It's like, "Mallory from Southern Baked Pie Company." And I was like, "Who is this? Is it not even right now?" And she was like, "You won the sweepstakes." And I was like, "What? No. not for real. And then the next day she called me and she was like, you want the sweepstakes? And I was just like, oh, no way. So I came into the store and I was like, oh my gosh. And my mom was like, so the girls have been telling me about you. You have a podcast. And I was like, yes, I do. And she was like, well, have you heard Amanda's story? And I was like, I probably should have moved it. But I was just like, no, tell me. And because I told Mallory what the podcast was about. And she was like, oh my gosh. And once she told me your story, I was like, it aligns perfectly with the mission of the podcast. And I was like, well, maybe we should partner together. And so this is how we got here today. But I want to start with your story. So growing up, what did you want to be when you were a big girl? Like, what was your dream?
That's such a good question. I wanted to be a pediatric oncologist. So
wow.
Yeah, I really did. Okay. That's what I wanted to do.
Wow.
And I wanted to cure childhood cancer. And I ended up I love to cook. I did, and I love to bake, and I love to be in my mom and grandmother's kitchen. But I was like, I'm just gonna go to medical school. And then I got into the University of Georgia right out of high school, and I was a biology major. And I made it through biology 1 or whatever it was, and then I had my first OChem class. And everybody would say organic chemistry is the hardest class ever. And it really was.
It sounds hard.
It was horrible. It was so hard. It was so hard. And I got my first test back out of the OChem, and I made I don't even think I made a D. I mean, it was so bad. It was so bad. And I remember I walked out and I started crying, and I called my dad and I said, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm never going to make it. I'm going to fail at organic chemistry. And I said, I'm going to switch my major. And he said, no, you're not. You're going to be the first doctor in our family. You are going to be a doctor. And I said, Dad, I'll figure it out. And I remember hanging up the call, and I just walked out to North Campus at the University of Georgia and literally walked into the Cherry College of Business. And then I ended up majoring in marketing.
Wow.
So I wanted to be a doctor. And that's not what I ended up being. I'm a pie maker. Very polar opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah, very different. Very different. But this is what I'm in.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. I mean, it's like, okay, so I wanted to be an actress when I grew up. Not so far from it now. Yeah, not big like, but I did. And I have parents from the Caribbean. And I went to my mother and I was like, Mom, I figured it out. I know what I want to be. And my mom was in the medical field. And if you have parents from the Caribbean, you can only be 3 things in life: lawyer, architect, doctor. That's it. That's all you can be in life. And so I was like, I want to be an actress. And she was like, no, you are going to do something else. And, I was like, what? And so, yeah, did not, and you mentioned my mother just kind of accepted it, but it was, so it's so interesting to me, like even now when you graduate in a certain major, right, like are you really doing what you graduated in?
I don't think you are.
Half of the time people are not. So
you're not. You do something different.
Exactly.
That's okay. You find your
purpose. Well, I think you find your purpose, you find your gifts, your passions along the way. And depending on the phase of life that you're in, they may change sometimes. So it's really interesting to hear people's stories. Okay, so you are at the University of Georgia. You realize that you're going to change your major to marketing.
Yes.
So now you're in marketing.
I'm in marketing.
All right.
So I'm going to be a marketer.
Yes.
But when I ended up majoring in marketing, I loved it. I love the sales, like learning the sales process and the psychology of what makes people buy and how to take a product and launch it and bring it to market. I loved all that. The advertising, the marketing, the social, all the things you have to do to make a product come to life. And so at the end of my college career, I entered a sales competition put on by the University of Georgia, and there was, I think, 150 or so people in it. And large corporations came, like Eli Lilly and State Farm and Philip Morris and all these big companies and big executives for the company would come. Oh, speak up. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Big executives from the company would come, and you were given a fake product and you had to sell it to them. So I ended up placing in the top 5 in the sales competition. So I had no idea I was good at sales, but maybe I was. I guess I was shocked. And I got recruited by State Farm after that opportunity. So I started my career in insurance, and I sold insurance for a year. And I worked in Atlanta, and I remember at my 1 year evaluation, I went into the 1 year evaluation, and I was with my boss, and I said, I have done all this, XYZ, all these great things. I was always placing in the top in our sales territory. I was always number 1 or 2. I'm highly competitive, and yes, very competitive, very, very driven, very major perfectionist. And so I was so proud of all I had accomplished, and I was very confident. And I went through everything, and I looked at him and I said, I'm ready to own my own steak farm agency, and own my own company. And he looked back at me and he said, he went over all I had accomplished, and he said, that's great and that's wonderful. And then he looked at me and he kind of got down with me and he said, now Amanda, you need to spend 2 more years here, and if you do, you'll be ready to be a state farm agent. And I was like, okay, all right. And I walked out to my car, and I took my laptop with me, and I started typing in my car, and I typed up a letter, and then I walked back inside, and I handed it to the secretary. So I was, of course, afraid to hand anything to my boss.
Right.
I had a lot of respect for him. And I turned in my 2 week notice. Yes. Left my job, quit my job, and no idea what I was going to be doing. But I just knew in that moment, I knew my boyfriend at the time was back home, now my husband. So I was like, that's it. I want to be my own agent. I want to own my own business, and they're not letting me do it fast enough. So I'm just going to leave. So very dumb decision. Looking back, I realized how ignorant that was. I had no backup plan. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do.
Well, Amanda, I always say there's purpose in your story.
True.
True.
And it's all worked out now.
Exactly.
But it was a really scary time.
Yes.
And that's really how I started. I started in sales, and I think it really helped me. And Southern based.
Yes. But so are you from Georgia?
I am. I'm from Georgia.
Okay.
I grew up in North Georgia, in Habersham. So I'm from Habersham County.
Yes.
We have 1 high school.
Oh, okay.
So not very big. Very small. But I grew up with really humble beginnings. I grew up baking in my grandmother's kitchen, and my grandmother was the minister. My grandmother was a pianist. My grandfather was the minister of music, so we had to be at church every Sunday. And it's important. And after church on Sunday, you were in trouble if you didn't come to my grandmother's house and eat. So the whole family came.
I love grandma. Okay, that family, I need to be part of it.
It was fun. It was fun,
Yes.
and we were all around the dining room table, and that's where I learned to cook. Was in my grandmother's kitchen. I have scars from making homemade biscuits and homemade gravy. Where I burnt myself on the electric skillet actually. But she's the one that taught me my love for cooking, and then my mom fostered it as I grew up. I just started. I love to be in the kitchen. That's where my most fond memories are.
Okay. So one of the things that I always talk about is support system, because mine is my backbone. So I have some of my high school friends here with me today who's known me since I was in 10th grade, and one of them said not too long ago, be careful of the friends you make in 10th grade, because you might just get stuck with them. And so I have some of them here. I consider myself very fortunate and blessed because of my support system, and I feel like I couldn't do this without them. My family, they're the family that I chose. And so what you leave State Farm, you tell your boyfriend, now husband, that you have this vision, right? What did your support system look like at that point?
My parents were extremely disappointed, extremely. And when I walked back out of my car and I told my mom and I said, I did something you're not going to be happy with. And she said, what'd you do? And I said, I just quit my job.
Did they
And
tell you
she said, young lady, you march your tail back in your back. You beg for your job back. And I was like, I don't think I can do that. No, I think it's a little too late for that. I really did. I made my bed and I had to lie in it or lay in it. I should know that from grammar. Right? I just said that wrong. But I really didn't know what I was going to do at that point. And my parents, I did move back home, and they did let me live rent free. So they were still supportive. Yeah. But I think they were disappointed. I graduated the University of Georgia in 3 years with honors. I rushed through. Yeah. So they were used to this type A, very driven, and then all of a sudden she lost her mind.
And she doesn't have
she doesn't have a job, she doesn't have a plan, she has no purpose. But I started doing marketing on the side for small businesses. That was back in 2012 when social media and Facebook and Instagram, it wasn't even popular. It was just kind of on the market.
It was like Facebook, and then before then, y'all remember MySpace?
Oh, MySpace. Y'all had MySpace. That was the best.
Listen, MySpace anxiety. Because I was just like, how am I supposed to make this look like this? This
Yes.
is crazy. But anyway.
It's like your own little website.
Okay.
Your MySpace.
Listen, and it's like, it was competition. Like, there was
Right.
pressure to have like an amazing MySpace.
An amazing MySpace.
Ladies, I know there's so much to do and not enough time in the day. Trust me, I'm right there with you. But what are you doing for yourself? Well, I've recently discovered Body Bar Pilates. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Body Bar Pilates will challenge all of your major muscle groups and provide you with a full body workout. Wow. Listen, I had to check it out. I took a class with Sherelle and it was amazing. They have workouts for all skill levels, whether you're just starting out or you're just looking for a new way to move your body. This is the community for you. Check out my friends at Body Bar Pilates East Cobb or give them a call at 678-941-4371. And don't forget to mention me, Harli G.
It's hard. It's so hard. So I did that for small businesses in the time when they didn't see the value in it and they didn't know enough about it. So I was not getting paid hardly anything. And one day Alex came home from work and said, I've signed you up for a festival. This was on a Tuesday. And he said, you're going to start selling pies on Thursday. And I was like, what?
Wait. So my husband comes home and tells me I'm going to start selling pies.
Yes.
2 days from now.
You're like, what?
Okay. Y'all know my husband, right? Yeah, that would. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So this is just very random. And he was a part of a young men's organization in Gainesville, and they put on this festival. So that's how that all came together. And he knew I was making a lot of money, and we had very little money left, so we needed to do something.
So how much money? Okay, we skipped a very crucial part. When you quit, how much money did you have to your name?
So when I quit, I had saved a lot of money.
Okay.
But I went through that over a year-long period, obviously. So it was actually 2 years while I was doing the marketing. And so we got married, and then I started Southern Baked. And when we started that first weekend, we had less than $400 to our name, like $300 and something odd dollars. I should remember the exact number. But we were like, we paid our bills, and thank goodness we didn't have a lot of payments. And we had a house, and we had a 2-year-old. So like, we didn't have a choice but to make something happen.
Yes.
So it was a lot of, I think a lot of people think it just started.
Exactly.
But there was a lot behind it that we had to work for.
Yes.
And we have to do this.
Yeah.
Like I have to find something that works.
Right.
I can't just do marketing.
Right. So you go in and go into this competition.
I did the festival, sold pies there. We baked pies. I baked throughout the day and then popped up my tent on Thursday. Ordered 1,000 business cards, created my own logo. I called it Buttermilk Pie Company. Baked the local. That was the first pie I ever made. So that's where the name came from. Buttermilk Pie. Had a local printer print me 1,000 business cards in a day. I'm very persistent. Really crazy. They thought I was crazy. They really did. I'll never forget it. But I stood out there in heels and pearls and a red pencil skirt and a leopard print jacket and like 6-inch heels.
I love the outfit.
Yes,
I'm there for the outfit.
It was out there, you know.
I love it.
I thought you got to do something to attract attention.
Exactly.
And I was wearing my Georgia red, trying to channel good energy, my Georgia Bulldogs. But I did. I stood out there and everybody that walked by my tent, I was like, hey, I'm Amanda Wilbanks. I own Southern Buttermilk Pie Company. Come in and try my pies. We're selling them for $4 a slice. Oh, and if you don't want my pies right now, I ship pies all over the United States. I can do corporate gifting. Put your name and email down right here and I'll follow back up with you.
Wow.
So I just would reel people into the tent.
Yes.
And it just grew from that.
Okay.
I did festival after festival and eventually opened a pie shop. So,
Wow. Okay, so take it back a little bit. So the recipe, how did you even land on I'm gonna make pies?
oh my gosh. Well, I really, Alex said you're gonna make pies. I said, to be honest, you're gonna
That's
sell
all I
pies.
did there.
Yes. I had been making pies. My mother-in-law came into town and said, let's make Alex's favorite pie. And that was a buttermilk pie. So that's how it all started. She taught me how to make my first buttermilk pie.
Wow.
So it's her pie crust recipe, and a lot of the recipes are all her recipes. Some are my family. Nothing we make is, until recently, everything we make was a family recipe.
Wow.
But they're all either, my mother-in-law either comes up with the recipes or I come up with them. So it's still like very small, very in-house, very, very family driven, family oriented. So
Wow. Okay, so it's secret? You're inside the bubble now.
Yes, now you know.
Oh, you know it. Okay, so you're making pies and you decide to start Southern Baked Pie Company. Well, how did the name change come about?
So the name change came about a couple of years later after we had been in business. We just had a scenario where we felt like we needed a more all-encompassing name because we do savory pies like chicken pot pie, hot roast pie, tomato pie, quiches, and we were called buttermilk pie. So I felt like I love the quiche. You're fine. Well, pie makes you want to die.
No,
I mean, you do.
Exactly.
Start talking about
Exactly.
it. But we changed the name. Southern Baked just felt like true to my Southern roots and where I'm from. And like to me, Southern means like warm and welcoming and like wrapped in a hug.
Yes.
When I think of Southern, I think of my grandmother and how she made me feel comforted. And every time I walk through her house, she's like, "Do you want a glass of tea and a snack?" I need a snack. And I'm like, I'm good, girl.
Why do you always try to feed you?
They always do. They do.
Yes.
And when you come in here, I want to be like, "What do you need? You need a snack. You need to buy something like."
Absolutely.
You want to make everybody feel that kind of feeling.
Yes.
And that's what Southern felt like to me.
That's
So
the
it's Southern
experience.
Baked.
That is the experience that you get every single time you walk into the Southern Baked Pie Company store without fail. Like, I'm like, do these women ever, like, are they ever sad? Like, do they ever have a bad day? Like, is that normal?
No, that's not loud.
Okay. Obviously, it's your criteria to work in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. And so you start this company, right? And you touched a little bit on that, and I want to talk about that because oftentimes when we look at people we admire, or we look at people that we feel in our eyes are successful, we're like, wow, like they're successful and they got there and they're doing their thing and they're walking in their purpose. And we don't really take a step back and acknowledge or understand really the full picture of their journey and how they got there and the challenges, the trials, the tribulations, the failures that are all part of where you are now, right? So as you start walking on this journey, and at what point did you realize, that's part 2, at what point did you realize that this is your purpose? But as you start walking on this journey, what are some challenges, some failures, some pitfalls that you encountered, and those are part of your journey? Those are some of the reasons why you're here today.
There's been a lot of challenges, a lot of road bumps, and I think every business has that, and everybody has that in their personal journey or their career. I would say some of the biggest challenges for me was finding a team that can be in my stores that can make my stores feel like I want them to feel. I'll be very honest. It's mainly like the people and growing the brand and getting the culture of the company like excited about the brand and like putting the right person in the right seat on the bus. Because everybody has different talents. And like you really have to hone in on like what that person's really good at so that they feel happiest with you and that your brand is intact and being represented well, and that everybody at every store that they go to, as I grew, that was a big challenge. Like how to make sure that everybody had that same Southern welcoming, hospitable experience, and that's hard. Because not everybody is warm and wants to walk across the table or the whatever we call it, the cash register will give you a hug.
Yes,
like, hand you your bag or offer to walking out to your car or like ask you about your mama when you come in. Like,
or your logo shirt.
Yes, or your logo shirt. And that's amazing.
Yes.
We have the most amazing team that will do that. But I would say that was the biggest challenge in the beginning, and it's still the biggest challenge today, other than, when you're a small business not having enough funds to be able to do the things you want to do, or hire the right talent, or buy the right machine, or buy, lease the right kitchen, or whatever it may be. I think those are just normal challenges that every business faces. But it's tough.
It is tough, but it's very rewarding. And so on the flip side to that, what are some of your biggest wins, right? You're like, oh, yes.
Okay. I would say biggest win was when Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds ate our pies. That would be that was the whole highlight of the Southern Baked journey.
You said Ryan. Hold on. Let's sit in this moment for a second.
Yes.
What?
I know, it was crazy. It was
Wait,
crazy.
so they just happened to walk in the store and they were like, we heard about the pies and what's up?
So she slid into my DMs.
Oh!
She slid right in. And messages. But for some reason, I did that day, and I saw on my
And
personal.
did you know it was a fake?
Oh, I totally thought it was fake. I really did. And so I'm like looking up every Blake Lively to make sure it's like really Blake Lively, and it's like the Blake Lively with a check.
Yes.
So, right, this is it. This is really, she's 10 million followers or something, or maybe 100 million, I don't even know. I was like, this is Blake. And so it was just, she loved the pies. And she said, something like, I don't know what kind of unicorn magic witchery you put into these pies, but they're like the greatest thing ever, and they're addicting. And so, yeah, she's a super sweet person, like, just precious.
Yes.
Precious. So that was one of my
So
highlights.
you guys have been
well,
invited to like Thanksgiving dinner?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Like,
Listen, say, hey, I have a friend who just wants to come in for like 5 minutes, record real quick, and then
yes, and then be out.
Yes. Actually, I won't be out. I'm gonna go hide somewhere.
Yes.
But
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
between us.
Yes.
Okay.
That was just neat. Like
Oh,
a highlight. And then
wow.
Ryan actually had a picture eating them in People magazine. And when I saw that, it was the apple pie. And it has a candle on it. It's on our Instagram. And they're so funny. They're the most funny. They're hilarious. He looks like he's eating the pie with the candle. It's really, really cute. Like, it's cute. So that was one of the career highlights, I would say, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Now, I did a little bit of research. You have been featured by New York Times. You've been all over. So, how does it feel to just be like, you're like this trendsetter? You're like, you know what? I set this on purpose, and as a reward of all my blood, sweat, and tears, like, this is what I get to put out in the world. Like, how does that feel?
It's neat. I would say I finally realized how cool it was when I got invited to the Hallmark Channel, and I got to be on the Hallmark Channel, and I walked up and they were like, Miss Wilbanks, we have a trailer for you. Here's your trailer, and here's your green room. And I was like, what? Damn, they're wrong, Miss Wilbanks. That's not me. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy. And so, like, to be on TV and to hook with, like, Debbie Metanopoulos and the Hallmark, all the people on the Hallmark Channel, it was crazy. So that was, I think in that moment, I was like, okay, people love the pie. This is really cool. And, I feel like through doing this, it's my passion to just spread joy to people. And when people come in here, they're happy and they smile. And that makes me feel like I'm fulfilled, and I feel like my purpose is, like, inner purpose is fulfilled when I see others happy and smiling. And, like, that's just my way that my cup is filled up.
Well,
So,
you get invited to the table.
yeah.
Like, so in all these families, all these homes around the holidays, when it's about being with your loved ones, Southern Baked Pie Company is a part of that. They're invited to the table. They're at the table, right? So it's like,
it's a big deal.
It
Think
is
about that,
a
like,
big deal.
people let you take up space in their life and
Exactly.
during their special celebrations, and that they make your product a part of their traditions that they'll pass down for years.
absolutely.
Like, it that to me is one of the greatest gifts.
I shouted from the rooftop I can't tell you how many people at work know about this place because of me.
I love it.
My friends, my circle knows, and I was like, when you get in there, tell them why they sent you.
Yes.
Because I'm just like, I feel like I'm part of the family.
Sure.
Like, I want to tell people about what an amazing, what you guys are doing here. And so you have children, you have 3 children. Do they realize, like, how cool their mom is?
I'm not cool. To them, I'm not cool at all. I don't even think they love the pies.
Okay.
That's the coolest thing in the
We just
world.
get to eat.
Yeah, they love that, and still to this day, like, they'll be like, "Will you bring me home a petite cherry pie? Will you bring home a key lime pie? Will you bring home a chicken pot pie?"
Yeah.
And I forget, because I have it all the time.
Yes.
They don't get sweets all the time, even though you would think they would.
Mhm.
And so when I bring it home to see their excitement, it warms my heart. Like, it's really precious. Because everybody thinks I'm eating pie all the time. I really don't. Like, they really do crave it and ask
My
for it.
kids eat pie all day long.
Yes, all day long. That's all they do.
So you have, what's the combination of, like, you have
2
2
boys.
boys and 1 girl,
Yeah,
right?
one that's about to be 13. I'm about to have a teenager. I don't even know how that's possible. I have a 3-nager
And
who
3
actually a teenager for sure.
That must be the girl.
That's the girl. That's the girl. That's Caroline Grace. And then I have a 7-year-old who
Okay.
is a hoot.
So do you feel like you're gonna pass on the tradition to them?
I
The
think
legacy?
so.
Yeah.
I really feel like I want to build it as a legacy brand where it's franchised,
Yes.
it's multiple locations, and it's something that they can do when they get older, if they want to.
Right.
You know, but I hope that one of the three will want to be a baker. And will want to cook. And will want to do that. Yes. I know they're a pie lover. I succeeded in that, but I'm like, we need somebody to run this business. Mom's tired.
Right.
Like, we've been doing this 11 years. Can y'all hurry up and grow up?
Exactly.
And take it this over?
Oh, that is so
That
awesome.
would be great. That would be a dream.
Yes, I mean that would be so cute. And talk to me a little bit about your vision. You just mentioned you would love for it to become a franchise. What does that look like for you?
You know, I think during COVID, I was so uncertain on if it would be able to grow and if it could withstand something like COVID. And it did, and it did very well. And it just proved to me that this is a replicatable model, and people need pie everywhere. And yes, homemade pie.
Yeah.
You go around and you can't find a really good bakery
Yes.
anymore. They're not on every corner like they used to be in town. So I know, we gotta have something made from scratch. It's okay. We can cut that. So you want people to have that homemade feel, and I think now we can take that to multiple cities and towns and locations, and so I'm excited about that. I think in the next year or so we'll be there. So can't wait.
That is so awesome. So tell us a little bit about some of the story, as people come in, right? I'm sure you have heard customers come in and share their stories about why they love Southern Baked Pie Company, right? Tell us a little bit about those stories.
So the best story that sticks out in my mind is it was the second festival we did. It was called Gold Rush up in Delonica, and there was this grandmother in one of the little wheelchairs, the autumn, the ones you push and go. And her grandson, he looked to be about 7 or 8, and he came up and he's standing on the side of the tent. There's a line out the tent, and we're trying to cut slices of pie as fast as we can and put them in little clam shells and hand them out. And he's standing there, and I see him at the side of the tent, and my husband walks over to him and says, "Would you like a slice of pie?" And the little boy said, "Yes, how much is it?" And Alex said it's $4 or $5. And he looked at his grandmother on the little scooter, and he said, "Can I have $5, please?" And she said, "I wouldn't pay $5 for a slice of pie ever." And turns around and backs out. Well, as she backs out, she backs up and she ends up giving him a pie. So he does come over here and he gets a slice of pie, and Alex watches it, and then he's like, "Man, look at this." He takes it, he goes to his grandmother, he opens it up, it's a slice of the caramel pecan. I'm like, okay, here we go. Our best pie of all, our award winner. So he takes a bite, and you can see he says something to her, and his eyes light up. And then she says, "Let me try a bite." So she takes the pie and she tries a bite of it, and I mean,
she's
immediately. It's so good. No, she did not stand.
Oh, okay.
That would be, oh my God. That would be my story stinks. Because she didn't stand and scream hallelujah. Darn it. Thanks, Harli.
Okay.
But anyway, she immediately, we see her, she backs that scooter up, runs it right over there, pulls right up to the side of the tent, doesn't even wait in the line, and she's like, "I'll take a whole one, and I don't care what it costs." And we're like, okay,
See,
so
turn somebody.
yes. I couldn't believe her.
Love it.
So that's one of my favorite stories.
Oh, I think you told me when we talked previously, you told me about the story of a gentleman here in Georgia. I think maybe not that frequents this store, or maybe it was Mallory.
Yeah.
Who told me about this gentleman who was on a nutrition regimen, whatever that is, but he makes it a point that his regimen allows for him
to have a slice
of
yes.
pie.
Oh my God. I always say everything in moderation.
Exactly.
And people, when you taste it, you're like, okay, I can work this in somewhere. I can find a place for it. So there's some.
Or you can just run me.
Yes, I cannot. I just eat the pie. It's fine. If they ain't that pie,
yes.
I can't do it.
Okay, so where do you think is the furthest out that you have actually sent a pie?
Oh gosh, we ship more pies than we sell in stores every day. So shipping is the largest portion of our company. So we've shipped to Alaska, to every state, Hawaii. I think we ship to Canada once or twice. Okay. But not international. Just it has to go with dry ice and all the eggs.
Oh yeah,
it's a transit time. Yes, I mean we love international, but it's just the dry ice is going in the pocket.
Okay,
not arriving.
And do you think you would go have an international store maybe?
I mean, I've never trained that big, but maybe I should.
You should.
Now you're making me think about it.
get your dream.
That's right. I need
Exactly.
to dream bigger. Dream
Exactly.
bigger. Yes.
Exactly.
So I think national.
Mhm.
That's what we're thinking.
Yes.
International. I'm all
Listen, don't stop
anything's
there.
possible.
Boom.
Yes.
Right
yes.
there.
Gotta think
You know.
big.
Yes, exactly. So when you think about your journey, you walking in that journey of purpose, and I've had some conversations with some friends, and we talk about the fear. We talk about sometimes how the fear just hinders us from taking that step out of faith, right? You've been through that. Like, you took that step. You overcame the fear. When you think about that, what would you like to say to someone who's in that stage right now, that phase of life is like, I really know I need to step out of fear, but I'm too afraid to do it.
Yeah. I think everything's situational.
Mhm.
So as long as you, I guess I should say, I was very naive, just like leaving my job and quitting my job at 24 years old. That was crazy.
No, it's like 15.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was a baby at that point, you know. But I was naive, and I think being naive a little bit is a good thing when it comes to fear, because you don't have fear of embarrassment, you don't have fear of rejection.
Yeah.
You just are like, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to see what happens. And that's what I would encourage people to be. It's just like a little bit naive sometimes, like, and just don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Just try it and see what happens, because that's really what I did.
Yeah.
I just tried it, and it worked really hard.
Yes.
I think if you're willing to work really hard,
Absolutely.
you can get past it.
Yes.
You really can. And I can say now, today, 10 years into this, I don't have any fear about anything. I'll put myself out there. I think now it's the challenges of like, how should I say that? I guess I don't have fear about the next step. I think I worry that I don't have I want to make sure I have the right support or the right people in the right place to take us there. But fear of trying it, no, I don't have any fear of that.
Okay.
And I think over time you just are like, I don't, just let it go.
Yeah.
Let fear go.
Exactly.
Just figure yourself out there.
Have you ever had doubts though? Like, you may not have fear, but you're like, oftentimes you're like, no, I couldn't do that. Could I? How do you overcome that? How do you talk yourself? What is your process of walking yourself through that?
Gosh, I don't even know. I think it's just, you just say yes and just go do it. Like, just don't think about it. And I'll just keep myself extremely busy. And so you don't have a lot of time to think about it. The longer you sit there and you ponder over it and you are like, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if I can get up and make this work today, or I don't know if I can muster this confidence. You're just telling yourself no. That's all you're doing. You're talking yourself out of it. So I just don't think about it, and I just go. Yeah. Which, that's been my way to cope and get through every day. Is just keep going. Just keep going for it. Don't think about it, and just go. Yes. Just do it.
Funny enough, when you just mentioned that, I participated a few months ago in a cop chamber event where they brought in a speaker, and his name was Gary, and he's actually a UGA graduate in marketing. Okay. What are the coincidences?
Yeah.
And yes, and he has an amazing story as well. And his story is that, like, he was just kind of like lost, was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He was in the marketing space though, and he actually ended up working. He actually puts the initiatives together for Chick-fil-A. So he handles like the initiatives for his name is Garrett something, but they call him like Gigi or something. And he ended up saying, okay, I'm just gonna go out into the world and I'm gonna figure this thing out. So he took 2 years and he traveled and visited every single country in the world. And he actually, and then he actually came back. Oh, well, that was actually his father's dying wish. Yeah. And so his father ended up passing away. And then he ended up going forward. He was like, my father wanted to do this, I want to do this. So he ended up seeing the world. Wow. And he wrote a book called 10 Seconds of Insane Courage. So what he's saying is that when somebody's asking you to do something, but when you're thinking about taking that step, there's a 10-second window where you don't overthink it. Yeah. There's a 10 seconds window where you're like, I can do this. There's a 10 seconds window where you have like the confidence and the will and the drive to do it. And then after that 10 seconds, that's when you start overthinking. Of course. That's when you start doubting. That's when you start like questioning, right? So it's like, as you think about that, you're like, just take a step, like you got 10 second window to just not overthink it.
Just not everything.
Exactly.
A good example of that was we were closing and a customer was walking in,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw her walk in, and then I think somebody said we're closed, and she walked back out, and I was like, in that 10 seconds, I was like, come back in.
Yes.
We're open. We will serve you. You can get this. But I didn't overthink the fact that, okay, we've already put the pies in the bag, we gotta open the register back up. It's just like, just say yes.
Yes.
Just say yes. Somebody will ask me to do something, and I say yes. And I oftentimes overcommit myself to stuff, and then I really want to back out. Like, we all do that.
Yes.
But I think just saying yes has provided me tons of opportunities that I would have never had if I had sat there and thought about it, or doubted myself, or thought, I'm not good enough for that, or I don't have time for that. It's kind of like, just say yes and just do it.
Yep.
And then deal with the stress of it later, but just say yes.
It'll figure itself out.
Yeah, it will. It
Right?
will. But I
So-
think it's that yes mentality that makes it kind of helps you to overcome.
Yeah.
Or it helped me to overcome my fear and not overthink things. So,
Yes. I love it. And so I actually wanted to see if our audience has questions, a few questions that you would like to ask Amanda. Everyone's like, what?
I know. The audience is like, what's happening here?
So any questions from the audience?
Every question's a great question.
It is.
Oh, I
See, 10 seconds.
There you
That was
go.
a test.
Everything.
That was a test. Yes.
So, what ways would you say that you used your marketing background within your development of your business?
Oh my gosh. Everything I learned at Georgia, there was like a 4-step selling process, and the 4 steps are super important, but what is the most important is the follow-up. And working in insurance taught me that you follow up. You have to follow up with a customer at least 10 times before they're ever going to buy. So you've called them, you planted a seed, and the majority of people stop with the 3rd follow-up. So if you're in sales and you'll go for that 10th call, or if it takes you 20 calls, you'll do it. You will end up with a business every time. It may take you 20 times. And that is really what UGA taught me in marketing and the business program. And then State Farm told me that. I had to cold call 150 people a day. So talk about getting over your fear. I would say that's really what got me over my fear of rejection, of humiliation, of like maybe have tough skin. Nothing phases me now except my children. If my children are hurting, or if someone's sick, or someone's actually hurting. But because of that, just having to overcome that rejection again and again and again, it just teaches you that, like, it gives you tough skin. And then it's like, they may not want to buy from me today. Maybe they didn't like their first encounter with me, but I'm going to try again. And I will break you down. Yes, I will. I will follow up until you tell me I'm going to get a restraining order.
Fine, Harli. Just so you can get out of my face.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Great. As long as you don't get a restraining order on me, I'm going to try and sell
And
you.
even if you do, I might even still try.
That's right. I'm not crazy though, I swear. I'm sounding like I'm crazy. Okay, good. I think we were a lot alike.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Thank you. Great question.
How many stores do you have currently now, and where are you looking to expand in the future?
Oh, good question. So we have 4 stores: Buckhead, Alpharetta, Vinings, and Gatesville. So all in Georgia and the Atlanta area. And I think franchising wise, we really want to be like a regionally dominant brand. So the Southeast, it's like who we are. It's true to our roots. So I mean, I love Greenville. I would love some Florida. Personally, I just want to be here in Florida because it makes me happy. And just I love Auburn, Alabama. I love Birmingham, Nashville. I mean, so many good cities.
Yes.
For sure. So
I went to school in Alabama. So it's
did you? Okay. It's okay. I went to Georgia, but I think, you know what? I'm okay with everybody.
competition. So now we're going to start competing.
That's right.
This-
Yeah.
and
I love it.
then I have some Floridians in the house too.
I
so.
know. I knew
Oh,
some Floridian.
So I got the Gators.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, oh my god, I love the state. I love the beauty. I just love the team. Like, but I love everything else.
Keeping it real.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. Georgia, Florida. We have some heartbreaks.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I love it. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for allowing us to come into your world, giving us some insight into your journey, which is amazing, by the way. We're gonna keep eating pies.
Oh, good.
Yes, we are.
Good.
We can do that. Well,
Yeah, that's an easy job.
Exactly. And whenever you need taste testers, feel free to us.
Yeah. Been behind the guns. Okay, I love it. I love it. I got names.
Exactly. But thank you so much for allowing me, for coming on the podcast and really sharing your stories, making yourself vulnerable, and in your story, motivating somebody else that's maybe doubting or thinking about taking that step, stepping out on faith, and now they're like, you know what? Amanda did it. She went to UGA. She's a bulldog. Maybe I can do this too. So thank you so much for sharing that story.
Thank you for inviting me, and I've had so much fun getting to know you, and just to get to be on your podcast is an honor. And so thank you for letting me share.
So on that note, we're just gonna cut.
I hope you enjoyed our show today. Hit the subscribe button and share. Share this pod with your family, with your friends, with your girlfriends, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Inside the Bubble with HG. Keep the conversation going. Drop us a heart emoji, engage with us. We would love to hear from you. New episodes are dropping every Monday on your podcast streaming platforms. And remember, there's purpose in your story.